Hey there, it's been a minute since I've done a reading from an AlignedLife blog post. Remember, it's still going on Substack. I'm distributing there, but I would love for you to subscribe to the blog over on my personal website, justincastelli.io/blog will take you there. You can go to the website up top on the menu. You'll see blog as well. I'm publishing it there first before it goes to Substack, and would love for you to join me there rather than the platform. But if you're already on Substack, it'll be there as well. I'm going to break out an old one. This is from November of last year called Stop Shrinking, Start Expanding. I think this is a very important concept. So I will read you the piece and then give you some extra context to it. And then I'll let you go read it again if you want to, or bookmark it to come back and visit. Stop shrinking, start expanding. The first advice is always the same: cut back. When financial stress arrives, the response is immediate and universal. Reduce expenses, tighten the budget, live on less. It's practical, responsible, and rooted in a single assumption: that the problem is what you're spending, not what you're earning. But what if the real problem is the question itself? We've been conditioned to see scarcity as the starting point. When money feels tight, we're taught to make ourselves smaller. Trim subscriptions, cancel memberships, reduce needs until we fit into the box our current income provides. And yes, living within your means matters. Reducing misaligned spending is often part of the solution, but it's become the only solution we offer. The default answer, the path of least resistance. Nobody asks the other question: what if you expanded yourself? This is what most financial advice ignores. We assume constraint is wisdom. We believe that shrinking is safety. But at a certain point, cutting expenses isn't neutral. It becomes painful. It becomes a form of self-denial that whispers, "You don't deserve more. You should want less." That energy doesn't create abundance, it creates resentment. There's another path, one that most professionals won't mention because it can't be controlled, can't be guaranteed, and can't fit nicely into a spreadsheet. That path is expansion. It's increasing your means instead of reducing your life. It's growing into the fullness of what's possible rather than shrinking into what feels safe. I know the objection already forming. That's not realistic. You can't just make more money. And you're right, it's not easy. But difficult isn't the same as impossible. The only barriers to improving your financial situation are the ones you accept as truth: self-doubt, disbelief, fear of change. There are countless examples of people who started with less, faced more obstacles, and still found a way to expand. They didn't do it by making themselves smaller. They did it by aligning with what they could uniquely offer. It's possible, but almost nobody is telling you this. The path looks different for everyone. Real constraints exist: systematic barriers, medical situation, or caregiving. I'm not dismissing those realities, but even within constraints, there's often more possibility than scarcity mindset reveals. And sometimes the answer is both. Reduce misaligned spending and create aligned income. It's not either or. The financial industry has built itself around protection and caution. Risk mitigation, safe strategies, these have value. But they also created a culture that whispers, "Don't reach, don't risk, stay where you are." We become so focused on defending what we have that we've forgotten the energy of creation. And there comes a point when cutting expenses doesn't lead to peace. When you've already limited the excess, when you're already living modestly, when you're making conscious choices, cutting more doesn't bring clarity. It brings constraint. It makes you feel smaller in a world that keeps expanding. That's when you need to expand, not reduce. You've probably heard the narrative that more money doesn't make you happy. And at a certain threshold, that's true. But if you're reading this, if you're considering cutting expenses just to live a good life, you're not at that threshold. Not even close. More money won't solve everything, but more aligned money absolutely improves your life. The distinction is everything, especially once you've covered the basics. Yes, you need to pay the bills. But when you're meeting your basic needs, how you earn matters. Working in alignment with who you are changes the quality of your life, not just the quantity in your account. And once you're past survival mode, that's when aligned expansion becomes the real path to well-being. Anyone can live aligned, regardless of income. But when you're seeking to grow beyond the basics, alignment determines whether the growth brings peace or just more stress in a different package. This isn't permission to chase wealth for its own sake or keep up with anyone. This is about alignment. If your desire to increase your means is aligned with your authentic life, if the reason you seek more money serves your purpose, supports your values, and helps you live more fully as who you truly are, then expansion is the path. The question isn't, can I afford this life? The question is, am I living in alignment with who I am? One of the most powerful places to start this expansion is with your unique gifts and talents. You have them. Everyone does. These are the things you do naturally, the ways you see the world that others don't, the value only you can offer. When you align your financial life with these gifts, something shifts. You are no longer just working for money. You're allowing money to flow through the expression of who you really are. And here's why this matters practically. When you're doing something only you can do, scarcity works in your favor. You're providing value that's harder to find, which means you have more control over what you charge. You're also better at what you're doing when you're using your natural gifts. Excellence comes easier. Better work means more value delivered, which means more income potential. And I believe the universe responds to the higher energy of doing something you love. It's not just about the economics. It's about moving in harmony with your purpose. So where do you start? Maybe it starts as a side project. Maybe you offer your gifts to people who need them outside your regular work. Maybe it starts small, just enough to ease the pressure. Or maybe it grows into something bigger that you never imagined. You won't know until you start. But here's what I believe. It will grow into exactly what you need it to be. When you pursue expansion through alignment, the universe tends to meet you there. Not because you're forcing or manipulating, because you're finally moving in harmony with your purpose. Instead of living from scarcity, stress, and fear, you begin to live from abundance. You create the authentic life you want, not the diminished version you've been told to accept. And this is where alignment becomes critical. Expansion without alignment is just chasing. It's the same trap, different direction. If you're seeking to increase your income because of external pressures, because society says you should, because you're comparing yourself to others, then you're still operating from scarcity. You're still trying to fill a void that money can't fill. This isn't an excuse to spend frivolously or live beyond your means in a misaligned way. Expansion applies to both sides of the equation, how you earn and how you spend. When you're already stretched thin, expanding doesn't mean adding new expenses or indulging every desire. It means creating more aligned income to support the life you're meant to live. And when you do spend, the same principles apply. If the spending is aligned with who you are and what matters, then go. If it's not aligned, think twice. Ask yourself, is my desire to increase my means aligned with my authentic life? Is what I can do to increase my means aligned with who I truly am? Am I seeking to expand for myself and those I care about, or am I doing this because of societal pressures? These questions determine whether expansion will bring peace or just more stress in a different form. The right answer for some people might be to cut back on spending, especially if their spending is misaligned, if it's serving someone else's vision of success rather than your own. Review your expenses. See if reduction is a part of the solution. But don't assume the answer always has to be live on less. You don't have to make yourself smaller. You don't have to accept less than what you need to live your authentic life. You don't have to apologize for wanting space to breathe, to create, to give, to grow. Shrinking doesn't have to be the answer when expanding is also an option. This is an invitation to see a different path. One where your financial stress isn't solved by diminishing your life, but by expanding into the fullness of what's possible. One where money flows not because you've learned you need less, but because you're aligned with who you really are. The universe responds to alignment, not deprivation. Your gifts matter, your vision matters, your authentic life matters. Stop asking, what can I cut? And start asking, how can I expand? All right, so this I think is really important again, because this is not something that many people are going to tell you. Even before I went down this path of understanding the authentic life and understanding how money is more of a current and moves like energy, I noticed that sometimes when working with some clients in the early days, the answer, the advice that they needed was hard, because the true advice was you need to make more money. And as soon as you tell somebody that, it's kind of like the walls go up, because you might be questioning, how valuable they are, how hard they're working. And it's not that easy just to go flip a switch and make more money. I think it's easier than we think it is, but with what we're taught and what we grow up, it's not necessarily easy to say, okay, the problem is I need to make more money. How do I go do that? And as I alluded to in the piece, I think that the first place to look is your unique gifts and talents. And what are those unique gifts and talents? The unique gifts and talents are the things that you have uniquely to you that no one else can do. And it's a wide range. It can be everything from an actual skill. It could be athletics. It could be something in performing arts. It could be cooking. It could be gardening. It could be the way you see and solve problems. But there are things that only you can do that no one else can do. And that's by design. Now, it's not as if the divine tells us exactly what those unique gifts and talents are. Part of the journey, part of growing and evolving is discovering and doing things to figure out what they are. You might know what some of them are, but you may not. You may look at yourself and say, I don't really know what my talents are. I would encourage you to start looking at the passions that you have. Look at the things you're interested in. Look at the things that you enjoy doing. If you enjoy doing something, that joy comes from somewhere else. There's a reason for that. That I believe that joy, that fulfillment, that passion is a clue that this is something you should be doing or something you should be pursuing. Go in that direction. It's kind of like, the way that fruit is sweet to let us, before we understood when we were, way back in the day, cavemen, we knew that fruit was good to eat because it was sweet. Other things were sour and tart and not good to eat, and that was how we could tell it. Joy and enjoyment and passion and fulfillment, that's the sweetness of life. You should want to do more of that, and the things that bring you that are not by coincidence. So discover those and use that more. So there's the aspect of finding your unique gifts and talents. And then the next thing, which is why this is not easy, how do you bring those to the world in a way that people will need it? You've got to kind of step back and look and test some things and try and maybe give away for a little while and get feedback. But eventually you can figure out, okay, here's the thing I love to do. Here's the thing that I'm good at doing. And this is how people need it. Let me try to figure out how to bring it. And it doesn't always have to be through entrepreneurship. It could be through another employer. It could be through another venue. So I'm not saying you have to go start your business to live your authentic life. I'm saying you have to tap into your unique gifts and talents. And in doing that, now you put yourself in a better position to attract more money to you if that's what you need. Another important understanding is how much do you really need? And that's kind of going into understanding what your values are, what is most important to you, what does your authentic life look like, and what does it require to live that? And having an understanding of those things allows you to know what you need to do with some planning work to attract and to bring in and how much it needs to be. Now, everybody would love to be a billionaire if someone could flip a switch and say, hey, you're a billionaire now. But the reality of it is most of us don't need that. Most of us don't even want that. There's so much that comes with trying to attain that might impact your authentic life. You might realize that you only need to make $100,000 a year to live your authentic life. And then you back into, okay, the thing that I can do, what do I need to charge? How many people do I need to serve to get to that income? Maybe you need 300, maybe you need 5. Everybody needs different, but it's unique to you. So don't let somebody else's life determine what you think you need to make. It's important for you to understand what your authentic life requires, so then you can go to your unique gifts and talents and reverse engineer how much do you need to be paid, how much do you need to make, how many people do you need to serve to have that income. And then now you can begin to move forward, whether it be starting a business or in your workplace or finding another job to begin to do this. So you can put yourself in a position where you expand and make more money, where you attract more money to you. It's going to be easier when you're doing it through the lens of your authentic life and through the lens of your unique gifts and talents. And the final piece of it, before this gets too long, I just want us to highlight is the mental aspect of it is really important as well. You will not be able to attract what it is that you need to live your authentic life if you don't believe that you're worthy of it. I forget who said this, but your net worth will never exceed your self-worth. So if you don't believe that you deserve or you're capable of having a certain amount of money, you'll never have it. You have to believe it. And that's not arrogance. That's just self-worth. That's loving yourself and knowing that you are a valuable piece of this world and you bring something to the world that allows you to command whatever it is that you need. So you could tap into your unique gifts and talents. You could figure out how you're going to do it. But if you don't believe that you're worthy of whatever it is that you're pursuing, you'll never get it. And I'm recording this on Friday, March 6th. I actually just wrote a daily note where I made that own connection in my life and in making some changes in the coming months to my business to make sure that my business reflects the frequency and the level that I need to be on to attract what I want for my authentic life. So now I can go out and help and invest and be there for other people. So you have to believe it before you can achieve it. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. So yes, trimming the expenses, especially misaligned expenses, expenses that do not align with your authentic life, trimming those as much as possible is a great first step, but it's not always the only step and it's not always the answer. If you've done that work and you're still struggling, then to me, the only answer is don't look to try to trim more. How can you expand? How can you expand your value? How can you expand your presence? How can you expand your own self-worth? That is the answer to bringing more money into your life. And as you begin to do that, you'll start to see how energy begins to move, money begins to move a little bit more like energy. And I'm actually working on a book. So if you've made it this far into the video, you know that I'm working on a book that is talking about how money is merely energy and how it flows to and through us. And I won't give you more, but that's the direction I'm going. And when you understand money through that lens, and you understand that you can expand, and you understand the key to tapping more into the current of money lives through your authentic life, you begin to look at life a little differently, and your money stresses go away as you have more agency and control over your financial picture. The caveat being making that live and fit within your authentic life. So stop shrinking, start expanding. Expansion, abundance is a much better answer than shrinking and scarcity. All right, remember, you can find this blog over on my website, over on Substack as well. I'll be doing more of these videos. Videos are going to be coming back up. I've got some new shows coming, a new focus, or not a new focus, a refocus, a recommitment to the Authentic Life content. If you've been reading and following along lately, you saw my post about going underground and focusing more on creating content, expressing myself more, and cutting out, realigning the activities that I'm doing with my authentic life, which is to bring the authentic life to more people. So thanks for tuning in. Feel free to share this video, share the Substack. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, that would be awesome. If you're not subscribed to the blog, that would be awesome. And don't forget about the Aligned Life podcast as well. Tons of great guests on that, in the last few months and coming. All right. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you all in the next video. And until then, keep pursuing.